Welcome to Mondays at the Mill. I'm Jodi, the owner of Flower Hoe Fleeces, and this is my daughter, Iz.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
I'm usually the one behind the camera, but we figured that it's a little easier if both of us are just talking together, and maybe you'll get a sense of our dynamic. I'm basically her brand new mill employee.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Yeah.
So this is episode 2, and Isabel's going to kind of get us started. She's got the agenda.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you guys so much for subscribing. At the time of filming, we are already over 150 subscribers, which kind of exceeded our expectations of what was going to happen with our first video.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for joining.
Yeah, and then I guess we can kind of just say what's been going on the past week. A lot happens during the summer at the farm, so we kind of have a lot actually to put in this episode. The first thing is that we won't go into any details, definitely want to respect everybody's privacy, but we have a new baby in our family, and there's a little bit of a tradition. So first I was going to ask my mom, who taught you to knit? Because this is a lot to do, to go from knitting to having a farm and sheep to then having an entire mill where you mill yarn. You have to kind of love yarn. So who started your interest in both crafting, but specifically in knitting?
Yeah. So my mom, Betsy, was an avid knitter. She was the type of person who could sew and knit and crochet, and she could do it all, and had a background in it. Actually went to school to be a seamstress. So she taught me to knit. I want to say I was maybe 8-10 years old. I was pretty young, not doing anything all that difficult, making Barbie scarves.
Yeah.
I think I made a lot of Barbie scarves in the beginning. That might be pretty traditional for everybody as you learn to make Barbie scarves.
Or a bracelet or like a square.
Yeah. When did I teach you to knit? Do you remember?
Well, actually, Grandma Betsy also taught me to knit.
Okay, so I didn't teach you to knit.
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely helped me anytime I've needed. You don't crochet. You specifically are not a crocheter.
I know the very basics, but I don't crochet.
I'm actually more of a crocheter. I do more sewing and stuff like that, but I would say my preference is crocheting, and she taught me how to crochet, and then anytime I've knit, you definitely helped me figure out how to do stuff, so.
Yeah. So she taught me at a young age, and of course, like everybody else, having a crafting journey, you kind of try everything. So I sew, and I don't know, I've kind of done it all.
Bead embroidery?
Yes, I did a lot of bead embroidery for a while. But my mom was definitely the person who encouraged us to be really creative, because she was a very creative person too. But she started a tradition, I believe, long before I was born, that new babies in the family or friends of the family, she would knit a sweater for that baby. But she had a very specific plan when she did that. She would never knit a newborn sweater, because she always said that baby was going to grow out of it ever before that the baby had a chance to wear it. So I know she never started a baby sweater that was smaller than 18 months. And depending on when the baby was born, she might knit size 1 or 2.
Depending on when the winter.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, so she would have kind of a good plan of attack before she went in. Now, sometimes those baby sweaters were done before the baby was born, and sometimes they weren't. But that was a tradition that she pretty much kept up with, oh my gosh, all of my nieces and nephews, all of my kids, friends. I mean, she's...
Anyone who had a baby knit a sweater.
I think she also loved knitting baby sweaters because they were kind of quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, you can understand, even an 18-month-old baby sweater is a lot.
She also loved babies, I think.
Yeah, she did love babies. So I have tried to keep up that tradition, because she passed away a couple years ago. And actually, it's kind of a funny story that she was working on a baby sweater when she became very sick and went into the hospital. And actually, a couple days before she was born, I have 2 older sisters. There's 3 of us. And we were in the hospital with her, and she pulled us all over, and she gave us each a job. And my sisters got kind of things you would expect, like make sure you can find my well or dug whatever. And she got to me, I'm the youngest, and she said, Jodi, you have to finish the baby sweater I started. So I have to admit it was a little hard finishing the sweater she started because it was very sentimental, but I did finish it. It was an 18-month-old sweater, and it went off to the recipient who had been born at that point. So since then, I have a niece who had a baby, and I knit that baby a sweater. And so I'm going to try to keep the tradition alive. Now this baby has already arrived, but I'm going to keep my mom's plan of attack of nothing smaller than 18 months. And since this baby was born in the summer, we're going to aim for like a winter kind of thing. So, but I did find the pattern that my mom knit sweaters for both of my girls and many other people. So I did grab this book when we were going through all of her stuff when she passed. And so this is the sweater. I don't know how closely you'll be able to see. Maybe we'll take a picture. We'll put this.
Insert a photo.
Yeah, we'll put some information. But it's a really cute little sweater that has this really pretty lace detail at the bottom. And my mom knit this sweater. I've knit this sweater. So I think this might be what I'm going to do. I did pull a couple colors from my stash I wanted to share.
Sure those.
We'll pull that out of the way. So since it was baby girl, I've kind of gone in a purple, burgundy kind of colorway. So here are three of the choices. These were in my stash. One of my rules of baby sweater knitting is a dark color, because I want that kid to wear the sweater. I don't want it to be so precious that that they're never gonna wear it.
So not the white sweater.
Not a white sweater. No, never. Maybe for a brand new baby who spits up a lot, but not. So
an 18-month-old is getting into things.
Yeah. So I was thinking a kind of a darker color, and I think that one of these might.
I really like this one. I feel like this is a good one.
Yeah, I kind of really like this one. Because it's kind of a heathered. So just because people will ask, I know. So this is Germantown DK, which is really lovely DK. The pattern is a DK weight pattern.
Which we actually have a lot of DK.
Yes, so I could knit it out of our own stuff too. But so I really thought this might be a nice one. This next one, and I've knit a lot of stuff out of this. This is Patagonia Organic Merino. It's technically, I would say, a sport weight, but blooms to a DK weight. So purple is one of my favorite colors. And then this is a real good yarn also. It's called Good Wool. It's by Purl Soho. And this colorway is called Red Prune, but it's really heathered. Like you can see, there's other colors in it. So maybe you guys in the comments will take a vote and what you think, either the like raspberry, purple, or it's called burgundy. And we'll see what gets the most votes, and maybe we'll go from there.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna do that.
And how long do you think this will take you to knit up?
Probably a long time, because I don't have a lot of knitting time. Yeah. The one thing that I will say about this pattern that I forgot, because I haven't knitted in a long time, is that it's a bottom-up sweater. Okay. But because of the lace work, you have to cast on like 300 stitches.
Oh, wow.
Which
is kind of absurd for a baby.
Absurd, yes, but the lace work, and then it gets smaller, obviously, and it's a raglan, and I think it's very cute that it's a V-neck.
Yeah.
But I forgot that you have to cast on so many.
Yeah.
So we'll see. There is another sweater that I'm considering, and maybe Isabel, since she's my editor, will put this in. Is tincanknits has a new sweater that just came out. I believe it's called the Cupcake sweater.
Oh, nice.
And I'll find that for you.
Okay.
And maybe we'll put that in, because it's really kind of cute too. So if worse comes to worse, and I don't want to cast on 300 and some stitches.
Could people find this pattern, or is it sort of my grandma had it for a very long time.
We've had this it's in we'll put the information below, but I'll show you the front of it. I think it's Sirdar, the Essentials. My mother had this for ever. I don't know if it might be on Ravelry, but we'll try to put the information below.
Yeah. And we'll find a similar one if we can't find it available on Ravelry.
Yeah, we'll try to find something. So
great.
So that's kind of what I'm hopefully going to be working on here soon. And
do you have any tips as someone who's knit baby sweaters before, of like, you've knit a lot of real like full adult size sweaters, and also you've knit some baby sweaters, so do you find that one is easier, or like if there's any tips that you think make it a little easier to knit a baby sweater? Or is it basically just like a miniature version?
I think the greatest thing about a baby sweater is, as opposed to an adult sweater, because I, as also a knitting teacher, I will tell you, you should swatch. Make a gauge swatch. That's important, because I've knit many sweaters that don't fit. They're either too big or too small. So, but the fun thing about a baby sweater is because you're not like, they kind of go in ranges. Yeah. So if you're aiming for a size that's bigger than the actual baby is right at that moment, you have a lot of weight.
Will grow into the sweater.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of don't have to worry about gauge too much. I'm not a big fingering weight, like a very, very lightweight. So I always kind of go DK worsted. Gotcha. But you don't want to make them too warm, because if you're making maybe like a toddler size sweater, they're running around, they're getting hot. So I think DK is probably a good plan. I do think one of the best sweaters is from tincanknits, and it's a free pattern called the flax, and it comes in different weights that you can make. I do think if you want to learn to knit a sweater, and maybe you have a baby in your life, that's a really good sweater to learn a construction of eventually learning to make a bigger sweater. So oftentimes when I'm teaching people to knit, they kind of ask me, and I'm like, well, if you feel like knitting a teeny sweater and understanding it, that's a good entry point. Right. But I think just like I said, like I'm gonna follow my mom's rules, follow Grandma Betsy rules of no teeny tiny sweaters, because they're never gonna wear them.
And then just because I don't really know, how many skeins would it take for you to knit this pattern? Would it only take 2 skeins?
I think the size, I think that's what, when I went and pulled all of these, was these would make the size. I think it makes like a 1 to 2. Okay. So 2 skeins. I think it was like around, for this pattern, around 500 to 550 yards.
Gotcha.
The other thing, and I know this might be a hot topic, is that I don't like to knit with acrylic. Or plastic yarn. Right. So a lot of people think those are the best things because you can wash them. I don't love that. I think it's better just knit with wool, knit with a darker color. Babies are going to spit up. That's going to happen. If it's somebody who you don't think is going to wash it, just offer to say, hey, when that sweater gets dirty, you'll take care of it. It's little. It's very easy. But I just don't like, acrylic burns.
Right.
Wool does not burn. I don't want to put
hopefully
a little
if you're here, that's not a hot topic.
Hopefully, but
that's wool.
So my preference is to do that. I think, and oftentimes what I've discovered is, moms, will put their babies in the sweaters to take a photo for me, and then I'm not sure they ever wear them again. But I hope. Okay. But I think
it's basically like an heirloom.
Right.
It's really nice for a family.
And you want to look for something that is going to be soft against that little kid's skin, because they're going to be more sensitive than maybe as an adult.
Right.
So, but that's kind of I like a non-super wash wool, and worst comes to worst, the baby wears it once, and that was great.
Yeah, and you can always spot check sweaters too.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And a dark color makes it really good, because then you won't see the dirt.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. Okay.
Yep.
Well, if you move these colors out of the way, last week we talked about some of the colors that we're playing with for summer, and we had a tiny little bit of what would you call that?
It was the roving.
Yeah,
it was
some roving.
That we had gone through Carter at that point, so it had been combined because we were mixing colors together. And I don't remember, what have we decided we're going to call this?
I think we're going to call it lemon bar, because I feel like that's a delicious summer dessert. Yep. And it's definitely buttery, but it's leaning towards the lemon, I think. In natural light, it definitely is a little softer, and in this lighting, definitely, it's a touch brighter. But this is yet to be washed, so it hasn't bloomed.
Yeah, right? It's not as big and fluffy as some.
But just to give you an update, I think the lighting is kind of washing it out a little bit, but it's very yellow. It's really pretty. I think it'll go really well with some of the other
It looks
colors.
really good with your shirt.
Yes, and we might have a color like very close to this. So, yeah.
So we did a little test run to make sure we liked the color, and we're pretty happy with the color. So this will be coming soon, hopefully.
And we've done some other little tests that I don't think we'll share today, but definitely in the future.
Yep.
And yeah, we're just trying to mill yarn.
Yes.
Keep up with everybody who's ordering.
Yes.
So
yes, exactly.
So right now, while we're filming, the 4th of July has yet to happen. But if you're in Western Pennsylvania or generally the east side of the U.S., you know it's been very, very, very hot and humid this week. And on a farm, that's especially fun because you still have to do a bunch of the farm stuff.
Yeah,
we got lots of animals.
Yep.
And we have to make sure that they're still, you know, doing well despite how hot and humid it is. However, I would say they often do better than we do as humans. They handle it a little bit better, but it just depends on the day.
I guess they just complain in their own way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is a lot more work when it gets really hot, at least to make sure that everybody is safe and just generally has water and has a place to get out of the sun. Which we're really lucky. We have a big, huge barn, so our animals have a really safe place to get out of the weather, whether it be hot or cold or wind or rain.
Yeah.
But making sure that they have enough water and are safe is really important right now. But hopefully, I think this weather's gonna break here soon.
Definitely. I think one of the things that I like seeing is that the sheep will, they'll go out into the field early in the morning and late at night. They stay out very late. And then during the kind of hottest hours of the day, they're in the barn sleeping most of the time. Yeah. And the puppies are sleeping too. Because the puppies are up all night. So no matter what the weather is, they're sleeping during the day. But on a really hot day, all the sheep are in the barn sleeping with them too.
Yeah. Probably one thing also I should clarify, because I know we've showed some video somewhere about the dogs that live with our sheep, Ernie and Elvis, and we refer to them as the puppies, but they are technically not puppies anymore. Right. But it's only because we have Bear, our older dog, so he's like king of the castle, and then we refer to Ernie and Elvis as the puppies. Yet they are like 18 months old now. So
to any normal person, they probably don't look like puppies. I will also say we like to call them the little dogs because Bear is about like 165 pounds. So to us, they are the little dogs.
They are the little dogs, yes.
But they're really not very little. They're probably like pushing 90 pounds too.
Yeah, not 90, 100 pounds. So,
yeah.
So, but I just, if you were looking, you're envisioning like these cute little small puppies. They were once, but they're really not technically puppies.
I think the other thing about dogs too is that I believe that they're kind of puppies until they're about 2 years old.
Big dogs,
they still have so much energy. Like when you go into the field, I just moved back, and so one of the things that they're starting to kind of get acquainted to me, because I used to just be a visitor that they'd be very excited to see, and they'd get very overwhelmed at seeing me because they knew I was part of the family, but they didn't see me very often. And now they're starting to kind of calm down around me, but they still get like super excitable. Their tails are wagging. They're like,
so they're still puppy like, but it'll probably still be 3 years down the road, and we'll still be referring to them as the puppies.
Definitely. But yeah, so they're a good addition to the field, and so they have to be taken care of when it's this hot too.
Yep.
And then one of the fun things about living in the country in a rural area is that we in Pennsylvania there's all these rolling hills. So one of our traditions for 4th of July is that if you go to the top of any hill on our farm, you can kind of see the different like little town fireworks that are going off. So we'll probably go do that tomorrow when it gets dark out.
And that was great when you guys were little. So Isabel is my middle child. I have a son who's older and a daughter who's younger. And the great thing is that we could go to the top of the hill and you could see the fireworks, but we couldn't hear them.
Yeah, I think that's nice.
So I will say that was like a real benefit when you guys were little kids, because we didn't hear the big booms, but we could see them. And so most of the time we'd be like, look that way or look that way. Like, so we could be and see them all around. So I hope we're able to do that tomorrow. It actually might be tonight.
Right.
People have them on July 3rd. We're filming on July 3rd. So.
Yes. Yep. The other fun thing that I'll add in too is that we're going to a birthday party tonight, and it's my grandma's birthday, my paternal grandmother's birthday, and I'm gluten-free as of recently for health reasons, and she's also gluten-free. So I'm gonna make her a berry cobbler today because I think it's nice on your birthday to have a treat that you can enjoy.
Yeah.
And so I'll insert a little bit of footage of that and the recipe for anyone else who's like either trying to avoid gluten, or honestly, everyone in the family loved it last
We
time.
loved it. Yeah,
So,
it was great. We didn't miss the gluten at all. So it was great.
Which
dessert.
is always my goal as a baker, especially now that I can't eat gluten, is to make desserts that everyone will enjoy, even if I can also eat it. Yeah. All right, I'm working on making a triple berry cobbler that is gluten-free. It uses oat flour and some oats for the crumble top, and it's really good, so I'll show you what I do. One of my tricks for pies and cobblers is that I like to make a jam with about half of the fruit before I start the cobbler or pie, in this situation cobbler. So I'm taking about a cup of strawberries, a cup of blackberries, and a cup of blueberries. All of these are frozen. The strawberries and blackberries actually both came from the farm. And I'm gonna put that in a saucepan with about a half a cup of sugar. Here's all the ingredients in that saucepan, and I'm going to put it on the stove for probably about 15 minutes and just sort of stir it so that all the sugars can come out. And this, I just think, is so helpful in not having as much of a runny pie or cobbler. I'm taking 2 more cups of strawberries, another cup of blackberries, and another heaping cup of the blueberries, and I'm gonna combine them in a mixing bowl. I'm gonna squeeze on just a little bit of lemon juice. And then I'm taking about a half a cup of sugar, and I'm spreading it on the berries. Then there's 2 optional things you can add to the berry mixture. The first is a dash of vanilla. I just like it for taste. And then if you're like me and you don't really like when the berries are super runny, I also like to add about a tablespoon of cornstarch. And that should help thicken it up as it cooks. Now for the cobbler top, we're gonna add a cup of oat flour, 3/4 of a cup of rolled oats. I'm using gluten-free rolled oats. A half a cup of milk of your choosing. I'm using macadamia milk. Half a cup of brown sugar, and a little touch of cinnamon and nutmeg. And we're gonna put that all into this bowl, and then add some cold butter. I'm using a stick of butter. All right, now in the bowl, I've got all of the dry ingredients. I've kept the milk to the side, and I'm gonna mix in that cold butter first, and then add the milk as I go. This is the cobbler top all mixed. It's hard to tell because those berries are so dark, but here's the jam, and it's definitely cooked down, and I'm gonna mix this in with all of the other berries that were in that mixing bowl. This is the berries all mixed up together. I love the consistency, and I'm gonna transfer this to my baking pan. I'm gonna add on the crumble top now, and I'm just gonna kind of put it all over the place like you would any sort of crumble. The cobbler's all ready to go in the oven. I'm gonna put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 40 minutes. I'm gonna check on it in 35 and see how much longer it needs. The cobbler just came out of the oven. I think it looks really good. It was in there for about 45 minutes, and I feel like this would go really well with ice cream or some whipped cream. So I think that pretty much is kind of what's been going on the past few days.
Yeah, let's talk about what's going on in the mill.
Yeah, what our favorite thing to talk about.
Yes.
We filmed a little bit of footage of one of the most important processes that we do to begin prepping our fiber to actually go through the machines and turn it to yarn, and that is
Scouring.
Yeah.
The fleeces have to be washed.
Mm-hmm.
So the video that Isabel's going to insert here I didn't really talk about it, but we use very, very hot water. We have an on-demand hot water system that gets the hot water up to 185 degrees, and that is significantly hotter than what's coming out of your tap in your household. So we have to be very careful around that very hot water, but that is crucial to getting the lanolin out, and that's really important for the process on the rest of our amendment machines, because we don't want that gunky, greasy lanolin getting into the machines, because that means a lot more cleaning, and we do a lot of cleaning in the machines. That'll be probably down the road. We'll show you the amount of cleaning that has to happen of the machines. But so scouring is the first step in the process, and really the most important step, because if the fiber isn't clean and we get it up here, it's immediately noticeable. And then so sometimes it has gotten, so our scouring system is in the basement of our building, and then the main part of our mill is on the second floor. So I have had times when I've gotten it up on a piece of machinery and have determined, oh, this is not clean, and it has to go back to be scoured again. So
and it seems like you mostly decide if it needs to be scoured again, so washed again, when we go through the picker. And the picker really shows that. And so yesterday I was actually working on picking a fleece that had been washed a second time. So you put part of it through the picker, and then you were realizing, like, this is not clean enough. And so it went back into which is luckily the picker is downstairs with the wash.
So it's kind of you quickly can determine once it's at the picker, oh, it's not clean enough. So I just.
And how are a few ways that you tell if it's not clean enough? When it's starting to go through the picker, like, how did you notice that it wasn't clean enough?
So when it's done being scoured in the actual washing machine, there is something that we can do called a dip test. I'm a little lazy about doing the dip test. Sometimes I can just feel with my bare hand. I will say that sometimes when the fiber is coming out of the washing machine, it's very, very hot, depending on how long it's been
wearing gloves.
So I'm wearing gloves to take it out, to put it on the drying racks. But once it's started to dry a little bit, I can touch it and feel it. That's not always the best determination. Like a dip test, based on the manufacturing of our equipment, is what they recommend. But sometimes you can I've dealt with enough fiber at this point, I can just kind of tell. But even if it feels clean, where I can really tell it is when it gets to the carder. And if that's a problem. And I have had stuff come up to the carder, it's run through other machines fine, gotten to the carder to try to make roving, and is clearly not clean enough. So it goes back. Fortunately, it's still safe for it to go back to the washing machine. So, but it is really critical in milling. And hand spinners out there, like, if you've processed a fleece, you understand, like, it's really critical to get it clean. You might have a little bit more wiggle room on your equipment, but it gets a little bit more complicated on ours.
And I think when we were when you were building the mill, water was like a very important part. And I think I sometimes hear mills talk about this, about like what source your water is coming from, and like then the on-demand heater and stuff like that. Like, you can't really just have you can't have a normal water heater in the mill. You could, but it's probably not going to work as well.
Some mills do. They find workarounds. I mean, it is.
I guess you would just have to, with a regular water heater, you'd be waiting longer for the water to heat up, so then you could actually scour. So it would just be slowing down the process. Ours
is very quick. When I turn on that hot water, when the water gets turned on here, within 30 seconds we're at temperature. So that's important, because if you've ever worked with fiber, you know, going from like very hot to very cold, or very cold to very hot, can filter fiber. So we want to get to temperature really quickly. So the on-demand water heater was really important, and was a really crucial part of decision making when we were building the mill.
And then one of the other things that I think is specific to our mill, but probably has to a bunch of mills also have this, is that we're on a well. So we have to conserve water where we can, and be pretty specific about. I mean, luckily our well is doing fine, but you don't want to you don't want to use a ton of water that you aren't using to wash the fiber or whatever other processes are going on. We don't want to waste any water, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll show you what it looks like to take some fiber out of the mill, out of this the washing machine.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'm about to get a freshly washed fleece out of the washer. This is a Dorset fleece that was purchased from a local farm, probably about 30 minutes from us. Scouring starts here in the basement at the washing machine. Usually it's a two-step process to begin with. First, we do a soak where we allow the water to fill up pretty high inside the machine. Water fills up pretty high to the top, and we place about 2 pounds of fiber in between the 3 sections here with the soap. And a soak is a slow feed of water, and then this basket moves slowly while the water is going in, and then it sits for a certain period of time, but also slowly moves in here at a certain rate, and so that's like a long soak so that the water can really encompass the whole fiber but also the soap too. Once that soak is finished, the water drains out and it spins the water out of the fiber. Then I do a second wash, and a wash is it fills up not as high, there's soap being injected, this basket is moving a little bit faster, then that drains out, and then I believe there's a rinse or two. So then the fiber again at the end is spun dry and then is put onto the drying baskets. Sometimes if that fiber isn't clean enough and I can sense it at the end of the wash, then it will go in for a second wash. Oh, okay. I know. It's hard being a big dog on a hot day.
Here's a little farm update. Last week we talked a little bit about building some fencing, because another thing that happens during the summer is that the sheep are in the fields eating a lot of the day. So it's good to have a little bit of extra pasture for them.
Yep.
So what did you do this week?
So before the heat wave started, I did start putting up some of our movable fencing, and we have a little bit of video of that happening, and you can see a little bit of the soon-to-be pasture that we're going to try to get the girls out onto. We have some permanent fencing that's very close to our barn. We have 2 pastures that the girls can go between, and then our rams have their own pasture. But the girls, we have more of the girls, and so we're able to move them from pasture to pasture. And we try to do that on, I wouldn't say a specific schedule, but we determine like how the grass is growing and in terms of when we're going to move them. But we know between the heat and also when we get into August, the grass growing season gets a little slower. So we just need to be able to have more pasture to move those girls on. And we just haven't wanted to put up permanent fencing. So our movable fencing just makes it a lot easier. We can put it up, let them out there. When the time is done, then we take that fencing down, and that's worked pretty well the last couple of years for us. So I took a little bit of video of me putting up that fencing, but it got really hot, so I stopped putting up the fencing. But the girls haven't left the barn, so it hasn't been really a big deal. But we'll get back to finishing getting that put up, and it'll still be good for many, many more weeks. Hi everybody. I'm out here starting to work on putting up some more temporary fencing so the girls can have some more green grass to munch on. Coming to help there, boy? Good man.
So how many ewes do you have right now? I don't even know.
34,
34?
I think.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah. So,
Mid-30s.
and they have pretty sizable pastures, I would say. They're like a few acres each.
Yeah, front pasture is 4 or 5 acres maybe. And then the other back pasture, maybe another 3 or 4. The boys have about 3 or 4 maybe, give or take. I'm not good at estimating, but then we have a whole other section, and this other section that we're putting up the movable fencing on is really good because it's partially on a hillside, and so it makes it easier for my husband and her dad not to have to cut that with the tractor because it's a little dangerous. So we just let the girls go out there and eat all the stuff off of it, and that makes it easier.
And kind of how can you tell when a pasture, they need to be taken off a pasture and put onto another one? What are some signs that you look for?
Well, we're looking for the length of the grass, because one of the things that you're constantly battling, I don't want to say constant, I take that back, not constantly battling, but isn't something that's really important to pay attention to are parasites.
Right.
The parasites will take over the sheep and kill them very quickly. So that's the biggest, I would say the biggest thing that we've dealt with. But by having good pasture management, getting the sheep off of a pasture when the grass is too short, because the parasites can climb up the grass.
Right.
When it's longer, the sheep are not eating it down where the parasites are so much. So we want to see good grass growth in a pasture they're not on, and when that's looking good, then we move them over there. And then as they're off, I would say generally right now it's about a month, like 3 weeks to a month, because we've had a fair amount of rain.
Yeah.
We've kind of had a happy medium between rain, so the pastures have been pretty good, but we just know come August, September, it's going to get really iffy.
Yeah, right now when you look out to the pasture and they're in it, you can kind of barely see them. You can just kind of see the tops of their backs.
Yeah.
Because the grass is pretty high at the moment.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. And then another fun little thing that happened on the farm this week, actually yesterday, is we have a friend who has a little dog, an actual little dog, not one of our little dogs. And she figured out how to get into the sheep pasture, and we had to rescue her.
Yes. So she I think she's been very interested in meeting Ernie and Elvis, and she's met them through the fence, like through the fence. But she is little. Like her name's Teddy, And she's this teeny tiny little girl, and I think she was so desperate to get in there, but unfortunately she couldn't figure out how to get out.
No.
So we had to go in and rescue her. I felt kind of bad because it was so hot yesterday, and she was like running up along the fence line, couldn't figure out how to get out, and Ernie and Elvis were like asleep in the barn. I think if they had been out with her, I have no idea. But
yeah, I don't think they would have hurt her, but they're so big and she's so little. I'm glad that they didn't wake up while she was out there.
Yeah. But she did get to meet a sheep.
Yeah, she
I
got
don't
to
think
meet a
she
sheep.
got to meet a sheep up close. So, but we got her back to her family, and I'm hoping she kind of learned her lesson.
And she seemed very pleased with herself.
Yeah, she seemed very proud.
So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching the Heatwave edition of Mondays at the Mill, episode 2.
Yep.
And we'll see you back
Don't forget
next
to like and subscribe. If you're new, invite your friends. We drop every Monday, hence Mondays at the Mill. If you want to follow along not on YouTube, you can find me on Instagram at flower_hill_fleeces. I'm also on Facebook, Flower Hill Fleeces. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being here, Iz.